All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Horseshoe Talk, Monday, December 5th, 2022. I'm Chris Gonzalez, joined by my dad, Tony Gonzalez. How's it going?
Oh, going pretty good.
Uh, Going a lot better than what is going for the Colts right now.
But you know what? They fell apart. But you look at the stats. You look at the stats, and they don't show a 54-19
No.
game because Dallas had 385 total yards. That's not massive. They had 220 on the ground. That was rough. The Colts had 309 total. 203 passing and had 106 yards rushing. So, and it got towards the end of the game, you couldn't rush anymore because you were so far behind.
Passing and had 106. Yeah.
First downs wasn't that bad, 23-18. They was ahead there. Third down efficiency, 7 out of 13 for them, 4 out of 13. Fourth down, we was 3 for 3. There was 1 for 1. Total plays, we ran more plays. We ran 70, they ran 65. Time, we had the ball more than they did. So, it wasn't. I know it was terrible, but it was the fourth quarter.
Yeah, it was the fourth quarter. Yeah.
We was down 21-19. Actually missed a 2-point conversion, a chance to tie it in the third quarter to go to the fourth quarter. And then it just, it all came off. The wheels came off. But we really didn't play that bad until the fourth quarter. And like I said, it just was terrible after that.
No, we were right there. Like you said, we was down by 2. We held the Dallas offense scoreless in the third quarter.
Yes.
We're playing a good game. I felt pretty good about where we was at going into the fourth quarter, and then it just the wheels fell off. It was some interceptions, fumbles. We couldn't get out of our own way.
Couldn't do nothing right. And don't get me wrong, Dallas capitalized on that, but it wasn't like there was all forced stuff either. It was a lot of just mistakes that we made. And I'm not taking anything away from Dallas. Dallas is a very good team. I would say they're my favorite to come out of the NFC right now since what happened with San Francisco losing their quarterback. I'm still not sold completely on Philadelphia, but hey, they may make a believer out of me yet. They're doing enough to win games and got a formula, and it's only one team's been able to crack that formula so far, really. So we'll see.
No, and I thought, the Colts came out, they were running the ball. Only big criticism I really had in the first 3 quarters was we got a little predictable on first down, where it was like every time on first down we was running up the middle, and you could tell Dallas got in the third quarter got ready for that. But still, we was right there. And then you get to the fourth quarter, and it just got bad.
Well, I will say one thing and I'm not a huge. I'm fine with Chris Collinsworth, but a criticism he had of the Colts, and most of the time it's not been that way, but in that game it kind of was. Every time that they did take a chance downfield, it seemed like it worked, and he felt like they should make a lot more chances, take more chances down the field, and they really didn't do that. And he questioned that a few times during the game because they did it 2 or 3 times and they all worked.
Hey, how's it going, Patty? Yeah, well, they hit the deep one there at the beginning of the game to Pierce.
Yep.
And then they also got a touchdown to Pierce in the end zone as well. I think they should have took a couple more shots down the field, but I also think maybe go into some short passes and stuff on first down, so you wasn't so predictable about running the ball.
Well, that was another thing he was critical about, and he was right. On first down, they was just putting everybody up at the line and waiting for us to run, and we kept doing it. And we would start off 3rd and 11,
especially
first and 11, or 2nd and 11, 2nd and 12.
Especially in the second half. First half wasn't as bad. We were getting some yards. We were getting a lot of 2nd and 5s and stuff. But in the second half, their
defense made some adjustments, and we
became pretty predictable there, especially in that third quarter that we were running the ball on first down. Of course, in the fourth quarter, once the game got out of hand, we wasn't running the ball no more, and we started throwing. But and then another interesting thing to me about the game last night was Ellinger wasn't even dressed. They had Foles as the backup. That really didn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
What's our record now, Chris? 4-8-1, 4-9-1, something like that.
Yeah.
It's time. If they have any hope in Ellinger at all of being the guy, it's time to play him the rest of the season. And I'm not putting Ryan down. I'm not saying I don't want Ryan there next year necessarily. I'm not saying any of that. You got to see what Ellinger can do so you can decide what you want to do in the offseason at the quarterback position.
Yeah. I don't think you've seen enough of Ellinger unless they just see it at practice.
Yeah.
We ain't seen enough in a game to say that he's not the guy or he can't play.
I seen him play fairly decent against Washington, almost beat Washington. Washington's turned out to be a pretty good team. The other game against New England, we just played terrible. Couldn't block nobody.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. He got sacked like 9 times. Right now, until the offensive line, and that's another good point. That I'm not a big fan of our local sports guy, but that's one thing. Until the offensive line is fixed, I don't know if you can tell anything for sure with who's at the quarterback, who can play and who can't.
Yeah. And then I think it's time to move on from Mo Alley Cox. He hasn't really panned out, especially this season. And that was another thing that didn't make sense to me was Jelani Woods barely even played last night, and he
caught like 8 or 9 catches last week.
Yeah,
and he was barely even in the game till towards the end of the third quarter or early fourth quarter. He wasn't even in the game plan.
Says, man, can we get rid of Ryan? You think he's had a bad year? Go look at his stats. He has had only 3 more seasons. Barely completion percentage better. Go look. Yeah, our the fourth quarter was terrible. We had too many turnovers for one thing.
Yeah, I'm not saying necessarily that Ryan is horrible but offensive line is terrible. And like I said, you go back and look at the stats. The stats don't show a 54-19 game. I mean, the ball got rolling and everything we did, we couldn't do nothing right in the fourth quarter. I mean, we was down 21-19 going into the fourth quarter. Again, until the offensive line's fixed, I don't think it's going to make a whole lot of difference who's back there at quarterback.
60-mile-per-hour passes. Yeah, and that's been a big problem of ours this year is that we haven't been able to play complete games. Against the Steelers last week, we played basically one good quarter. Yep. And if you look at a lot of the games, we played 2 or 3. We could play like maybe a good half, and then we played terrible. I mean, we haven't been able to put together 4 quarters of football.
Yeah.
And then last night, like I said, first 3 quarters against a team like Dallas, we was right where we wanted to be. I mean, yeah, we were down, but you're down by 2 points. You held them scoreless in the third quarter, so you're going into the fourth quarter thinking, okay, we have a chance, and then we didn't have a chance. It just was turnover. Next thing you know, you're down big.
Defense couldn't stop nothing. Offense couldn't do anything. It was just a horrible quarter. I mean, it was just completely fell apart. Let me ask you this, Chris. Do you think it's time to move on from the general manager?
Oh man, I don't know. I think there's a good chance that we might, just because I think Irsay's aggravated as hell. But I don't think he's done a bad job putting together a team. But you also,
well, they thought they had a great offensive line.
Yeah.
So I mean, you got to put the blame on somebody. I mean,
that's true.
Something's wrong with the offensive line. It's terrible. They thought they was going to be one of the best offensive lines in football and one of the worst. And it starts there. I still think, even though some progress was made with the young receivers, I think we still need another solid, good receiver, probably a veteran more than another rookie, in my opinion. Tight ends, I like our young tight ends. I don't see a big problem there. Our defense, I like our defense. It's a top 5, top 10 defense for the most part. I know they played terrible the fourth quarter, but I don't think our defense is that far away from being a great defense. You got to remember, our best defensive players only played 1 game all year long.
Yeah,
pretty much. And Franklin has been a find. I mean, Sarah Franklin's one of the best defensive players in football right now. What do you think?
Yeah, he was right. He's right up there leading the league in tackles
and is all over the field and a leader. He's become a leader.
Well, he made a big play in pass protection last night that stopped the touchdown. Let's see. John says, and you understand why Luck left because he wasn't getting getting protection, just like your dad says, you could have any QB back there, but if you don't have protection, you don't have a chance. Yeah, that he said prime example. Burrow, their team has given him more protection these past few weeks.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, our offensive line has to get better. It's not going to matter, and we got to get. I don't know. We got to get another explosive player. We got Jonathan Taylor who can be explosive, but I think we got to find different ways to get him the ball and just handed it off to him in the backfield. Last night we did run a few screen passes, which I've been calling for all year. That you just don't see the Colts use them very often, and a couple of them worked pretty good. It does hurt us not having Shaquille Leonard on the defensive side. I think that was one of the reasons our defense forcing turnovers was down a little bit this year, but our defense has been a top 10 defense most of the season. Last night in the fourth quarter, they didn't play well at all. I agree. The secondary was getting torched, but some of that is they were on the field the whole damn fourth quarter as well.
We was missing a really good defensive player last night, two more.
Yeah, we're missing more in our secondary as well last night.
Next man has to step up. And I did for 3 quarters, scored 21-19. You can't be real upset with that. And we could have been ahead in that game.
And we were close to having a couple. More at least one more interception in that game, and it ended up it hit the ground. But there was a couple plays that if we could have made it, might have made a difference. But and then in the fourth quarter, it seemed like it was just turnover after turnover. We couldn't do nothing right, whether it was interception or fumble or what was it? Five turnovers.
I think so. Let me ask you this, Chris. Okay, moving forward, I don't think Saturday will be there. That's my opinion. Do you think they're going to go with a young coach, college guy, or a veteran? I don't want a college guy. That's my opinion. I want a veteran that's been there and has got experience and been, for at least fairly successful. I'm not saying we're getting him like a Sean Payton or a Harbaugh from Michigan. Who was great at San Francisco, turning around a team that was a lot worse than what the Colts are right now. He turned San Francisco around in a heartbeat. Somebody like that. And I'm not saying Harbaugh's living in Michigan. I'm not, he's making boatloads of money. So I'm not saying he's leaving.
Yeah, Quiddy Pay, it was good coming back. Because I was talking about yesterday. I'd like to see us go after John Harbaugh, but I'm not. No. Jim Harbaugh. I mean Jim Harbaugh, but I'm not convinced completely that Irsay's not going to stick with Saturday.
I don't have a problem if they're going to go out and get a college coach that's never been in the NFL. I just soon have Saturday.
Yeah, I'm not.
I mean, I know some people are going to think that's unpopular. It's going to be unpopular, but
I'm not completely sold that he's moving on from Saturday. I think he might. You might see a new GM, maybe. I could see maybe Saturday still being there, maybe change some of the bring in more of his own coaching staff.
You've seen some college coaches come in and do very well, but you've seen some college coaches come in and crap the bed.
Yeah, I'd like to see Jim Harbaugh come in. He's had success in the NFL. I think he can come in. The big thing is, I agree. We got to get some. We need another weapon on the outside with the receivers. Our receivers aren't. We're just not consistent enough. There'll be games where Pittman will have it, and it might be because they're in a true number 2 where Pittman has games where he can't score. That might be it. But like Pierce will make some big plays, but then he might not make.
And he does drop it a little bit.
He's dropped some passes.
He's dropped a few. Probably the most consistent in the last few games has been Paris Campbell. I mean, I'm not saying he's a number 1, but he's a consistent.
Yeah, he's been a good weapon. He's been a good weapon for us.
He's been consistent this year and has done a good job.
And at tight end, I still don't understand why Woods didn't hardly play last night.
That didn't make any sense after the game.
He'd been getting more, and Granson got involved. Granson was more involved last night, which I like Granson, but Woods is with his size and his catch radius. I think he could really be a big weapon for us. He could be what I think Woods could be what the Colts thought Mo Alley Cox was going to be. That bigger target with a big catch radius. I think Jelani Woods could really be that.
And of course, we got that rookie who got hurt, tight end that they were really high on.
Ogletree.
They're real high on him. So I'm fairly okay with our tight end position. And like you said, I think Cox will probably be gone. I'm fairly happy with our running backs that we have. The one young running back, I think he's fine as a backup. I think we need a receiver, and then we got to fix the offensive line. Maybe a tweak on defense, but not much.
No, because you get Shaquille Leonard back, that's going to help the defense as well, especially with the rise of Franklin.
Yeah, I agree.
After watching what the Cowboys did to the Vikings, and now this, would you say they're the team to beat in the NFC?
I think so. Since what happened with San Francisco.
Yeah, I would say probably just because, and it's mainly because of the Garoppolo injury. Because I'm real high on San Francisco, which still think San Francisco is going to be a tough out because of how good that defense is, and they got a lot of weapons on offense. If they can just find a quarterback not to turn the ball over, I think they can still win some games. But I mean, and the thing last night with Dallas, I mean, yeah, Dallas ended up blowing the Colts out, but it was a 21-19 game going in the fourth quarter, and we just it fell apart between turnovers and turnovers, and then the defense couldn't get no stops after those turnovers either.
Once
But
that ball got rolling,
yeah,
it was just downhill.
Yeah, downhill quick, isn't it?
Yeah, it was awful.
It was ugly. It was ugly to watch. It was that fourth quarter was ugly to watch.
And I give Dallas credit, but a lot of it we did to ourselves. I mean, I'm not taking anything away from Dallas. Dallas is a very good team, and I think that to me, I like them better than I do the Eagles. That's just my opinion. I know Eagles got a better record. Eagles beat them, but of course, Dak wasn't playing. I think the key for Dallas is Dak not to turn the ball over. Again, I don't want to say be a game manager, but not make those mistakes is the main thing. If he don't make the mistakes, they run the football first and mix in the passing and try to keep it, 50-50 or pretty close to that. I think they're a really dangerous team.
Oh, the Cowboys, yeah. Their run defense worries me a little bit because you can run the ball. You can run the ball on them.
Well, we did have 106 yards rushing yesterday, and we really didn't run the ball in the fourth quarter at all.
No,
but they ran the ball. That was the key for them. They ran the ball for 220 yards on us.
Yeah,
but the weird thing is they ran the ball for 220 yards, but we had the ball more minutes.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say some of the running yards came in that fourth quarter as well. After the game went to
what the hell?
Yeah, oh man. I just don't understand how you can play a team that close for that many quarters and just fall apart like that. I guess sometimes we've seen it. I mean, momentum, and you have to give Dallas credit on that. The momentum switched their way, and they were able to keep that momentum. And that was one thing that hurt us too. We got that interception, and we weren't able to turn it into a touchdown. We settled for a field goal.
That may be, one thing that, we heard our local guy today, and I didn't agree with all that he said, but he said that we don't have enough playmakers. I mean, he said Taylor was a playmaker. Other than that, he said we really don't have anybody really making consistent, making big plays where the good teams have more playmakers. I thought he was a little carried away with some of it. Said that Kansas City had 7 playmakers. I don't really agree with that. I don't know who his 7 playmakers are. I think they depend heavily on their tight end. And when he doesn't do big things, they'll get the touchdowns in the end zone, they have trouble putting the ball in the end zone, unless it's a long pass. But once they get down to that 20-yard line, if it's not Kelsey or the quarterback scoring, they struggle sometimes getting the ball in the end zone.
Yeah, and then that's why I say I think we need maybe another receiver.
And the crazy thing is
and that's something we all offseason we kept saying, why aren't the Colts going after any receivers?
That a lot of the receivers that we named, Chris, they didn't pan out anyway. Some of them, we talked about. I mean, some of the people that were out there went to teams and really haven't panned out. I mean, Jones hasn't done anything for Tampa, been injured most of the time. One guy used to play for the Bears, Robinson, he hasn't done anything. Really, Schuster's had a couple of good games with Kansas City, but not.
John, they have to do something on the offensive line.
That's the main thing.
That's true. They make as much mistakes as they make plays, which is not the term, in my opinion, for playmakers. Uh, Granson played pretty good. Woods didn't hardly play. He only played like 4 or 5 plays. He didn't even really play till there in the fourth quarter. And Jonathan Taylor is a good playmaker we do have, but it also goes back to some on the offensive line as well. You got to give them, and you get so predictable that they know we don't have the weapons on the outside, so they can just stack the box
Yes.
and gear up for Jonathan Taylor in the run.
And if they get you third and long, we're in trouble.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. You get us in third and long, yeah, we are in trouble. We just don't. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if Ballard's gone. I don't. It's going to be interesting to see what. I'm hoping. I know we're on a bye week this week. I'm hoping after the bye week, we play Ellinger at quarterback. See what we got.
So I'd like to see what we got. Not that
I'm not saying he's the guy, but
like we
let's
said,
see what we have.
If the offensive line don't play any better, is that a fair assessment?
Well, I mean, that's true too. But I mean, it can't be no worse than what it was in the fourth quarter.
No, that's for sure.
And we know that. I mean, we have Ryan under contract for one more year. Are they going to stick with him for another year, or you know what I mean? They got to decide what they're going to do with Ellinger, so you know what you're going to do with your draft pick. If you get right now it looks like we're going to get a top 10 pick. Well, are you going to use that as on a quarterback? Or are you going to use it on
offensive lineman?
I mean, what or a receiver? You know what I mean? Or a playmaker? What are you going to? What you're playing?
I mean, it makes sense that if you get a guy, I don't know that you start him right away. You keep Ryan around, and if you get if you draft a quarterback, you have Ryan around to help him get ready for the next year, and you're possibly conceding, but maybe not. I mean, you have Ryan another year. You go out and get some offensive linemen. You get your wide receiver, and maybe the season's different.
Yeah, I know this wasn't what I was expecting this season. I thought we'd be going to have a good season this year. And it just all.
I was expecting at least 10 or 11 wins, and we're far from that.
Yeah, I didn't think it was going to be worse than what we was last year. That's definitely. But the one position I'm not going to lie, I was worried about the receiver position.
But we wasn't worried about the offensive line.
No, and the offensive line has not performed at all, and that's where we have most of our money at. We have a lot of money tied up in that offensive line, and it's underperforming. Underperformed big time. I mean, that rookie Rahman hasn't really panned out. I know he's only a rookie. Maybe you can work with him and he can get better. Pryor hasn't been good on the right side. But I mean, you can go almost through up to even Nelson hasn't played up to the standard that we're used to seeing him play at on the offensive line. So it's the offensive line's been a mess. I do think we got to get some more playmakers on the outside at the receiver position. I was a fan of Pittman, but he's just hasn't been consistent enough. And that might be because we don't have nobody on the other side that's consistent, and they can double team him. Pierce, I know he's only a rookie. He's shown flashes, but he's dropped some passes. Doolin had one big catch last night, but he'd been hurt, so he hadn't been around a lot. But it'll be interesting to see what the direction is, what they do at coach, if they keep Saturday, if they bring in another coach, is he going to go after maybe a college coach that hasn't been in the NFL? Like I said, I'd like to see him go after Jim Harbaugh. I think that could be a good fit with us, especially if we can fix some of our needs. But it's going to be interesting to see where we go in the draft. I think right now we'd be at the 8th or 9th pick in the draft. So it'd be interesting to see where we go from there. And I don't know. And we play a lot. And one thing I've noticed this year too, we play down our up or down our competition. I know it don't seem like it last night because we ended up getting blown out. But if you look at the first 3 quarters, we were playing right there with the Cowboys. We we barely lost to the Eagles. We beat the Chiefs. We played good against some of the good teams. And then we would play a team like the Steelers or some of these other teams that you would think we would have chances to beat, and we can't beat them. The Colts have not been able to put together four full quarters of football all season, and that's something that they got to fix. But we got to get the offensive line fixed. I do think we need somebody at quarterback, but are we going to find the answer in the draft at quarterback, or is it going to be something we're going to have to try to? I don't want to trade for another old. I don't want to go after another old quarterback. If we're going to do that, might as well keep Ryan, draft somebody and keep Ryan for one more year before we go after another old quarterback that isn't succeeding somewhere else.
Yeah. Unless we can make a deal for like a Jackson, Lamar Jackson or somebody like that, who's proven to be, pretty good.
Yeah, somebody that's still at a decent age. I just don't want to, like, we went from Wentz, and I thought we gave up on Wentz too quick, and then we went to Ryan, and Ryan hasn't, and I'm not going to say it's all Ryan's fault because the offensive line hasn't been good either, but
I think that, and I could be wrong.
I think it's a combination of both.
But it's also what they think's out there. I mean, do they see a quarterback in the first round, or do they see somebody maybe that could be in the second round that they think they could set a year? Who knows who they like. The guy that I like, he can't come out right now. I like the quarterback at USC. I really like him. Actually, that TCU quarterback's got a lot of moxie, but I don't think he can come out either. I don't think. Yeah, but
like I said, I've been a fan of Hooker from Tennessee. But I think if you bring him in, he's going to be a guy that's probably going to have to sit a season, especially coming off that injury.
Yeah.
He might be available at around 9 or 10 still because of the injury. But like Stroud will be gone.
But the thing right now, they're what, 8th or 9th pick right now. That could come down. I mean, they could.
Yeah, depending on what happens. We have a bye this week, and then still have 4 more games.
We got a tough schedule. We still got to play the Vikings,
Giants.
There's another team. We got the Texans, but I think the other team's all about winning teams.
Chargers.
They're a 500 team. So definitely 3 teams that are in the playoff hunt, and then the Texans.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. What happens once the season's over? What moves are made with the coaching staff, the GM? See what Irsay decides to do with all that. Colts will win 4 games.
Well, they're at right now. Yeah.
And honestly, really at this point, why it really don't matter if we win anymore. At this point, even if we win the next 4 games, we're not making. It's not like we're going to be in the playoffs.
And the other thing, Chris, we got to think about. We all say we need a quarterback, but look how many teams out there need quarterbacks. There's not a whole lot of good quarterbacks out there. The Jets are banking on Mike White, who's had 2 starts as the guy because they think Zach Wilson is the guy. There's just not a lot of.
No,
a lot of cool quarterbacks out there.
No, see, Washington. I don't think they're sold on whether they have their quarterback or not with Heineke.
I like Heineke better than the other stuff. Other people they've had.
The 49ers. I don't think they were sold on Lance before he got hurt. Now he's hurt. Now you got Purdy starting, who was was one of the last picks, and then you have.
Well, you look at right now. They're showing the AFC playoff picture. Bills, they got a good quarterback. Chiefs, good. Ravens, good. Titans, what do you think? Average quarterback?
Yeah, he's all
Tannehill. Maybe average, maybe a little above. Maybe with what the league is right now. Bengals, good quarterback. Dolphins, good quarterback. Jets, not really anything proven. Patriots, same thing. Chargers got a real good quarterback, but they have a terrible defense, and they've had terrible injuries on offense.
And I don't think they have the right coach.
I don't either. So
And yeah, that's just AFC. That's not, you know what I mean? You go through the NFC, same
Yeah,
thing.
same
I mean,
thing. I mean, Prescott's not a great quarterback. Above average, yes. Cousins above average, yes. I think he might even be good. But I'm not necessarily great, but I think he's good.
Eagles, I'd say he's good. I'm still not 100% sold
Oh,
how great he's going to be.
I think he's going to do well. I mean, I don't know if some people have been screaming that he's the MVP this year. I don't see that, but I think he's doing a good job.
Giants, they're not sold on whether Jones is their quarterback or not.
If there's ever been a year, that a quarterback shouldn't be an MVP, this is it.
Yeah. And that is one thing that's been interesting about the season this year is there really isn't that one dominant team that you can just say that everybody, you know what I mean, that everybody thinks, oh, for sure is going to win the Super Bowl. You have a handful of teams, I think, that are good enough that can win the Super Bowl. It's going to be interesting to see what happens in the playoffs. I mean, the Bills was my favorite, but they've had some injuries and stuff, so they've showed. And then the Chiefs, I mean, they just got beat by the Bengals. The Bengals are starting to play better. Their offensive line starting to look a little better.
The thing with the Bills is they've had the injuries, even with all the injuries and some bad play. Even the quarterback has struggled a couple times. They're still the number one seed in the AFC with all that.
And even the two teams playing tonight on Monday Night Football, both of them could be looking for quarterbacks next year. Tampa Bay could be looking for a quarterback, and then the Saints, they don't know who their quarterback's going to be.
Yeah, because the one guy's been healthy for the Saints, and they haven't put him back in.
No, they've been starting Dalton over him. I haven't understood that either.
No, I don't know why. Yeah, maybe they're not seeing it with Winston. Maybe that coach don't see it.
I don't know. Well, all right. You got anything else you wanted to talk about? I know we got an interview coming up here in about 15, 20 minutes with pro wrestling fan Marcus Fine. So come join us for that. It should be a great show.
When we say pro wrestling fan, we're talking about
a
huge fan. I mean, he goes to, I think he's at about 65 or 66 independent shows that he's been throughout Indiana.
Just this year
in Illinois since January 1st, and would have probably definitely hit over 70 if his wife hadn't had some illness problems. So, he's a huge, just fantastic fan.
Bye week for the Colts this week. We'll be back on Friday. We'll have Horseshoe Talk Friday evening, and then you got a bye week this week for the Colts, and we'll be back next week to get ready to talk. Ready for their next game. Hopefully we can play better. Like I said, I was happy with the way we played for 3 quarters, and then that fourth quarter was hard to watch. We missed the first. Well, we listened to the first quarter on the radio on the way home. I wish we'd have missed the last quarter, not the first.
Yeah,
the last quarter was a tough watch. We thank everybody for joining us. Please hit that subscribe button on YouTube at Gonzo Sports Room and to All Sports All Plays Network. Also, like and follow us on Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, all at Gonzo Sports Room. That's where we post all the stuff about our shows, is all over our social media. We appreciate everybody watching. We'll see you guys on Friday for another episode of Horseshoe Talk. Like I said, if you're a pro wrestling fan, join us here in about 15 minutes or so as a pro wrestling super fan Marcus Fine sits down with us. We'll see everybody on Friday at 6 p.m. for another episode of Horseshoe Talk. Thanks for joining us.